These are how the different people and their silos are mapped, and this is how we actually work together. So if you look at like the advanced IT operations management and really looking at focusing on cross-domain analysis, what is it we're providing here? Really, we look at it as kind of a continuum. You really keep going around this, and you really optimize. This is what they'll tell you in IDLE. This is what they'll tell you in all of the different service manuals out there from a process standpoint, that Nexus can actually help you move through this as well and understanding, okay, you're troubleshooting, and how do I troubleshoot performance? What do I want to measure? What are the different key critical aspects I need to measure within this infrastructure so I know, is it a problem or isn't it a problem? Where are our bottlenecks? Identifying them quickly. I think bringing that to bear on your infrastructure really helps you then move, because if your hair's on fire, you really need to put your hair out before you can move into optimizing that performance. Optimizing the performance really relies on the fact that you have troubleshot things and you know what is quote-unquote normal. Maybe there is a bottleneck. Maybe that bottleneck is normal, but you know it. So once you have that, optimizing the performance really talks about understanding a baseline. Here's what's normal. Here's the effective usage of these different pools of resource, CPU, memory, and I/O. How do I understand and move things around so that optimally? Have I balanced my RAID groups or my disk groups in my back-end arrays? How do I know I am not overwhelming one with low I/O and the other one is overwhelmed with high I/O? Why can't I get the same stack ratios? Well, going through and metering out not only on a gigabyte by gigabyte basis, but on a throughput or an IOPS basis, and understanding, okay, this is what it's supporting. Getting that optimal placement so you get a new baseline and really can plan off of that. Once you have that optimal baseline and you have optimized to a certain extent, then you can plan for that infrastructure. Here's where I can put more resource. I do have a lot of low-end servers on this disk group. It's only 50% allocated out from a gigabyte perspective. I have 50% more terabytes in there. What do I want to do? Well, I can now put some heavier I/O. Maybe I do some storage vMotions. Maybe I do some back-end LUN migrations. These are things that can also be done with some of the Nexus services that they offer and following some of their policies and procedures that they've put in place for other customers. When you look at it and plan off of that infrastructure, okay, this is how you get to understanding, okay, this is how much more I need to buy for the next year. Do I need 15 ESX servers to support a virtual first infrastructure, or do I need 5? Can I get away with the 10 I have today that are, running only 10 gets per? Can I get those to 20:1 ratios? Looking at and planning off of that baseline and understanding how to claim resources and load balance those so you get a better throughput. That helps you also to understand and proactively manage the service levels. Managing service levels is not about writing an SLA to your end users. Managing service levels is about managing expectations. So being able to understand that everybody expects their application, be it mission critical or not, to run quickly. Understanding what are the usage patterns so that you can support that. Once somebody becomes used to what is quote-unquote normal, making sure that normal doesn't change. So being predictive, alerting, and reporting back on these capacity and performance-based metrics through analytics. So not just taking, hey, I have high IOPS today, but really looking at what is the impact of high IOPS today. Is that normal? Is that causing an impact down the line? Or is it the CPU overutilized? Or is it underutilized today? And why is that? So going back and then being able to generate a chargeback off of that so you understand, okay, this is what it truly is costing us. And being able to understand, okay, these are the resources we have, this is the utilization that's going on, and here's where I need to spend my money. So the techie reason why cross-domain is really important is really understanding that it's really complex. So there's many different pieces that you can talk to, from a guest server down to the storage array. Looking across there, you have multiple different types of CPU utilization. You have different times of collection. You have different statistics and how they're normalized. This is really tough math. So what we've done is really made it simple by understanding that in a virtual world, You have all these different places to collect from, and correlating that information and giving you indexes or scorecards that help you understand, am I healthy or not, really is important. We don't focus on, hey, that VM just turned off. Virtual Center will alert you to that. Many of your other service management or system management vendors will alert you that, hey, the VM went offline. Yes, we do capture things like that, but when you're looking at it, really what we're saying is, what is the impact of that server going offline? And was it caused by an infrastructure brownout? Understanding also that there are these physical servers still in there. So understanding, okay, this is how I need to move through my infrastructure and understand, are they playing nicely? Do I have an HPUX system that's still sharing that disk group with my virtual farm now? Maybe it's only sharing with one LUN out of one part of the data store, and looking at, how many guests do I really have deployed and what is the impact if that HPUX system gets busy? Or looking at things like AIX and looking at VIO and how does the impact of my virtualized AIX environment play with my underlying virtualization and deployment in VMware? Can I get higher stack ratios on the Unix side as well? So not looking at just one technology, not looking at just VMware, not just looking at storage, not just looking at, AIX, LPARS and VIO, but looking at understanding the cross-domain abilities and understanding, okay, this is really where the bottlenecks exist. Why balance point? Well, it's the analytics. It's the so what. Again, we take that tough math and provide you a performance index, for instance. That performance index, gas gauge, for your physical servers or your ESX hosts. Understanding, okay, this is how many more I can put on here. This is how many more LPARs I can put on my AIX server. This is how many more guests I can put on my underlying infrastructure in my ESX environment, in my cluster. Then measuring the response times, because that's really giving you an understanding of that service level. Really, what is normal? What is my infrastructure response time, that round trip, CPU and I/O, and how best is it being serviced? Then really looking down through that, taking it into the virtual world for your VMware installations and looking at virtual machine performance index. How much more workload from an application standpoint can I do on a virtual? Is the virtual configured properly? Did I over-configure it? A lot of what we see now is people going back and reclaiming gigahertz and gigabytes that they've handed out to VMs. VMware is a great technology. It allows you to use this pool, but when you allocate too much out, you can actually self-inflict contention and actually lower your utilization without being able to understand what's going on. That's kind of that fog of virtualization, and really getting beyond that takes special analytics across multiple different pieces from the host, the guest, and the back-end storage to really understand, am I efficiently using things such as CPU or memory? Do I have contention at the host level? What is going on? Did DRS, the Dynamic Resource Service from VMware, decide that overnight I had spikes for longer than a minute of CPU and decide to move or migrate some VMs next to each other that have multiple CPUs? Well, it ends up I come in the morning and all my heavy CPU loads are all on the same ESX server. Well, they all get busy all at the same time at 9 a.m. when people start working, and it starts to be motions all over again. Is that good or is that bad? What is the impact? And understanding that impact is really where Corey's analytics come back. It tells you to, so what? Yes, you're being impacted by those vMotions, or no, you're not. Or yes, you're being impacted by storage vMotions, or no, you're not. Or by LUN migrations, or RAID group. When you have a disco bad, what is the impact of that to your entire RAID group? Understanding the heavy analytics under the hood from a storage and from a server perspective, from a virtual and a physical perspective, help you understand, okay, what's going on? Where's my bottleneck? Really, so what?